Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me again here on Dimensions Photo. Then today we're going to go through my top 5 tricks in Photoshop that help me save a lot of time when it comes to my editing workflow. Alright, let's get into it. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me once again. As you know, my name is Emmanuel here on Dimensions Photo, where we always go through different tips, tricks, and tutorials on anything that has to do with photography. So as you can see, wearing the sweater because here in New Jersey it is extremely cold. One day, I think last week it was like 60 degrees and now it's back down to, I don't know, like 30 degrees or like 18 degrees. It's supposed to snow tomorrow, so it's a lot of cold weather coming in. So for all of you guys who are watching in Mexico or India or anywhere that's warm, I definitely envy you guys and I hope you enjoy the weather over there. Okay, so today what we're going to look into is Photoshop. There's so many tools in Photoshop, so many different ways of editing, but basically today we're going to go through the 5 things that I use every time I edit, and they're practically lifesavers because they save time. Their functionality is amazing, and basically they'll just help you work better when it comes to Photoshop. Alright, so let's get right into the tutorial. Okay guys, and thanks so much for joining me again. Then as I mentioned in this video, I will show you the 5 top things that I use, like tricks and things that saved my life while using Photoshop, in no particular order, but these are the things that I use that help me out a lot. So hopefully you learned something and you like it. Alright, so let's get right into it. So the first one is using the, which one? Yeah, hue saturation. How to change color effectively. Now, this is just one way, but some people might not know it. I think it just helps a lot when, especially when you're doing small projects and things. So basically here, when you have the hue and saturation adjustment, when you slide this left or right, it changes colors, as you can see. But what it does is that it changes the color of everything in the photo. A lot of times it's not what we want. Okay, so what to do if you want to change just one specific color? Bring that back to 0. So this here selector, if you click the color that you want, let's say it's this red here, right? We want to just change the red on these bikes. And once you click it, it automatically selects the reds specifically in that range that this color is found in. So now when you go to change, as you see, it'll completely change the color. Alright. Let's say we're looking for like a green like that, right? Okay, so as you see, it affects only these colors. Then anything that's red in the image, it'll affect. Okay, so then that's how you change the colors. Obviously you might have to get a little bit more selective to get it perfect, but that's how you target a specific color. So now I'm going to show you the second tip and tutorial which will help fix this picture, which is actually using the layer masks. Then here, when you see your adjustments, you have your adjustment, which is here. If you double click, you get your adjustments panel, whatever it wants to. There you go. And then here on your right, you have the layer mask. Then the layer mask basically shows you what area of the image is being affected. So everything in white is being affected by this layer mask. And if you control I, it's going to bring it black. Then that means nothing is being affected. So white means everything, black means nothing. Okay, so let's say I didn't want everything else to get discolored, but I only wanted the red on the bike to get colored. So what you would do is then you can paint white specifically on the areas. So I'm going to bring out my brush tool and I'm going to paint with white here. So I'm only going to target the red on the bikes. Okay, so as you paint in the color, it'll only affect the red in that part of the image and nowhere else. So basically what it is that since this is black, it's hiding the adjustment, and when you paint in the white, it's revealing the adjustment. Okay, so this will help just so you can get directly in the image and then change the areas that you want. Okay, and then let's say you did make a mistake, like here, oh, I painted his arm. Now he's all weird. Then it's a quick fix. Just go back to white. Go back to black, and then paint in black. So white is kind of like adding, and then black is kind of erasing. Okay, so that's how you use the hue and saturation. The layer mask. So that comes up with all different types of adjustments that are here. Let's say brightness and contrast, right? So brightness, I wanted to bring the brightness down, right? But I didn't want it to affect the motorcyclists. So then the same. Now I will paint in with black on top of the motorcyclist, and they will get the color back. Okay, so that's basically how you use the layer masks to selectively edit. Sorry about that. Selectively edit the area that you want. Okay, so as you add black, then it'll take away. If you add white, it'll add. Okay, so you kind of see that even in the image itself. So if you have an image here or any other image that you just want to affect, if you go down here and you hit layer mask, it'll add it. So now you can affect any part of the image just by using black and white on the brush tool. Okay, you see, and I can erase any part of the image that I want. This is better when you just have like a selection on like a white background. This helps just to clean it up, but we're not going to do that right now. Let me get rid of the layer mask. Good. Okay, and the third thing that I want to show you is how to navigate around the image. Let me get rid of this. Okay, how do you navigate around the image? So let's say you want to zoom in on his face. So it's very difficult to, you can hit Z or hit here and then you can zoom in. If you hit Alt and click, it'll zoom out. But this can get very tedious, especially if you're working on portraits and other things. It gets uncomfortable. So what you can do is, when you're in your normal move tool or whichever you are, okay, if you want to come in close, you can hold Control and then hit plus. Control and plus, and it'll zoom you in. If you hit Control and minus on the keyboard, it'll zoom you out. Okay, and then let's say you're really zoomed in, right? But you just want to come back to the original image to fill the screen. If you hit Control 0, you'll be right back to where you are, and it'll bring the image to full screen and full view. Another thing, let's say, so if you go in and you wanted to make an adjustment, but now zooming in here, I want to go where his face is. If you hit the space bar, now you have this grab tool or move tool. Sorry, my computer's kind of slow. You have the move tool, and you can click and drag to the area that you want. And then again, you can Control plus, you can zoom in. Another way that you can also zoom in and out is if you hold Alt and you scroll down. Let's say if you have the mouse wheel, or scroll up, you're able to zoom in and out. Okay, so that's one way. That's moving in and out of the image. That's another tip and trick that I use for my workflow. The fourth one is very important one, and this has to do with the brush. So you know, when you're doing different edits, let's say like the edit that we were just doing, when you want to add in color onto this image, it's very hard to adjust the brush. If you go up here and then you try to change the brush, it's kind of annoying. Or if you right click and try to change the brush, this gets annoying, right? You have to change it every time. So what you can do is, if you hold down, if you're on Windows, if you hold down Alt and then you right click and you go left and right, you can change the diameter. And if you go up and down, you change the hardness. Okay, so that helps a lot, because if I'm working on this image, let's say I want to work on the helmet, but this brush is too big. So I Alt right click and I bring it down. Okay, I got the nice size right there where I can just work in. And then I'm going back to the bike. Alt right click, pull to the right, get a bigger brush, and then start working on the body. So this helps a ton, especially if you're doing minor adjustments on a full image. If you're on a Mac, you will want to hold down Command and Alt. I think it's right next to it, Command and Alt, and then when you click, it'll do the same effect. Okay, that's the fourth thing that I use that's super effective, because you're able to change the brush size very quickly, and also the hardness. Sometimes you need like a full hard edge to come in, sometimes you don't. Right, and for the last tool that we're going to look into, we're going to use this picture here. Okay, and so when we use a picture like this, a lot of times we do design different things. We look for a PNG image, which should have the background erased, transparent, and it's not like we thought it would be. So then how do you delete the background off of a picture like this or an image like this? So it's very difficult to get in there to try to select all the white by itself. So there's a very quick way to do this. Okay, and I always recommend to make a new layer by hitting Control J or Command J. Okay, and we will go to select color range. Okay, and then what this does is that this selects a certain color. So here we're focusing on the white. Later you can play with the fuzziness and the range. This just lets you know how much of the image it's actually going to select. Later you can play with that and kind of find out what it does. Okay, well, as you see here, it's automatically targeting all the white area and the black area of the letters. It's not targeting. So if I just hit OK, it's going to select all the area outside the letters. So if I hit delete, now you have a perfectly cut out set of letters that you can set on a different color background. Let's add a solid color, like a light blue or something. Right, and then now we have all the letters here. So as you see, that was a quick, simple way, less than a minute. We're able to cut out all those letters and have a perfectly blank background. This works with many images like that have a white background and aren't cut out, instead of having to use quick selection or anything else. And that's the last of the 5 tips that I use. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you learned something from it. Alright guys, so as you can see, those are the 5 things that I use every time I open up Photoshop and I start editing. Some of them, they might seem basic, some of them you might have known already, but these are the ones that I use that help me with my workflow with editing. And to be honest, I didn't know them for a long time, so when I found them out, they truly helped in everything I did. Alright, so guys, if you definitely liked this video, or if there was something, tip that you learned new today, then why don't you leave a comment below, let me know which one it is. That way I can see how it impacted you. And if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have any friends or family or any enthusiast photographer that you think would enjoy this channel, why don't you go ahead and share it with them so that they can also check out the channel and maybe learn something from this content. Alright guys, once again, this is Emmanuel from Dimensions Photo, where we help you take your photography to higher dimensions. Alright, so remember, keep shooting, keep sharing, and keep smiling, and now